Nervous girl enters the clinic, finding the millionaire doctor she once rejected. In the bustling heart of Buenos Aires, a nervous young woman named Mariana walked into the prestigious Clínica del Sol only to realize that the man about to examine her was a young millionaire she had once rejected. "Dr. Moore, your next patient is in room 2, Nurse Isabel said briskly, glancing down at her tablet. "She seems a little nervous." William slipped on a pair of latex gloves, not looking up. Name: Mariana. His hands paused mid-motion. A slow breath escaped him, but his heart began to hammer in his chest. "Mariana?" His voice came out low, almost disbelieving. "Yes, early 20s, first-time patient. Intake form says mild abdominal pain. Do you know her?" Isabel asked, noticing his reaction. He did not answer. Instead, he finished adjusting his gloves, gave a sharp nod, and walked down the corridor. His polished shoes echoed against the sterile tile floor. Each step toward room 2 felt heavier, the name repeating in his mind like a drumbeat. Mariana Silva. He had not heard that name spoken aloud in years, not since that night on the campus steps under the rain, when she had looked at him with those wide, sad eyes and said, "No." He pushed open the door. Inside, Mariana sat on the edge of the examination table, her shoulders hunched, fingers tightly clutched around the strap of her canvas bag. She was staring at the floor, legs swinging slightly above it, as if hoping the movement would distract her from her nerves. Her hair was longer than he remembered, darker too, pulled back into a loose ponytail. She wore no makeup, just a dusting of worry across her features. The door clicked shut behind him and she looked up. Her eyes widened, and he stopped mid-step. "Mariana," he said before he could stop himself. She blinked, then her lips parted. "No, it can't be." Her voice was barely above a whisper. He cleared his throat, trying to regain his composure. "Hello, Miss Silva. I'm Dr. William Moore. I'm going to be handling your consultation today." A flicker of disbelief crossed her face, followed by something else, discomfort, maybe even panic. She stood abruptly. I think there's been a mistake. I didn't know. I didn't expect." "I assure you, I'm a licensed physician and more than qualified to examine you," William said evenly, but the edge in his voice betrayed his calm tone. "If you're uncomfortable, I can request a referral to another doctor, but we're currently short-staffed, so there may be a delay." She hesitated, eyes flicking to the door, then back to him. "No, it's fine," she said softly. "I just wasn't prepared." Neither of us were, he thought. He motioned to the table. "You can sit. Let's go over your symptoms." Mariana perched back on the table, still clutching her bag like a life raft. She could not look at him, and he tried not to stare, but her presence was overwhelming. So many memories flooded him, late-night study sessions, quiet glances across the library. That one time she laughed so hard she snorted and turned beet red, and of course, the night she told him goodbye. "What brings you in today?" he asked, grabbing a clipboard. She exhaled slowly. "I've been having stomach pain, not constant, sharp sometimes, lower left side." He nodded, scribbling notes. "How long has it been happening?" "A few weeks. I thought it would go away. It didn't." "Any fever? Nausea?" "Some nausea, no fever." He glanced up. "May I?" She nodded without speaking as he stepped forward to examine her. The air between them thickened. His hands moved with practiced precision, but inwardly he was trembling. She was here, she was real, and she looked just as beautiful as he remembered, if not more. "Does it hurt here?" he asked, pressing gently. She flinched a little. He moved to the next area. "Here?" She shook her head. A long moment passed before he stepped back and peeled off his gloves. "It's likely mild gastritis," he said, "but I'll run some labs to be sure. Nothing urgent." She nodded again. He reached for the clipboard but paused before turning away. "I didn't expect to see you here." She looked up, finally meeting his eyes. Her voice was low. "Neither did I. I thought you left the city." "I did. I came back last year." He waited, but she offered nothing more. He nodded slowly. "You'll get a call about your results in a few days. In the meantime, I'll write you a prescription." He turned toward the counter, scribbled a few notes, then paused. "You look well," he said, without turning around. She did not reply. When he handed her the paper, their fingers brushed. She pulled her hand away, quickly. "Thank you," she said, clutching the slip like another shield. William opened the door for her. She walked past him, head down, footsteps quick. As she reached the hallway, he called softly, "Still not good enough, huh, Mariana?" She stopped, her back stiffened, but she did not turn around. She walked away without a word, and William stood there alone in the doorway, wondering why her silence hurt more than her rejection ever did. Mariana sat in the reception area, her fingers curling and uncurling in her lap, as the dull tick of the wall clock seemed to echo louder than anything else. She had come back to the clinic reluctantly, heart pounding, fully prepared to ask for a different physician. The encounter with William had unraveled her carefully kept composure, stirred feelings she thought long buried. She told herself it would be easier to explain to the receptionist that she simply preferred someone else. No need for awkwardness, no need for history resurfacing. But when she finally stood at the front desk, clutching her purse tightly, her voice barely above a whisper, the receptionist had offered a kind but apologetic smile. "I'm sorry, Miss Silva. Dr. Moore is currently the only internal medicine specialist available this week, unless you'd prefer to wait 2 or 3 more weeks for the next appointment." Mariana had paused. 3 weeks was too long to ignore her symptoms, but still she hesitated, her heart thudding like a warning. She gave a silent nod, too embarrassed to explain why she wanted to switch. She could not bring herself to say, "I once broke that man's heart," or worse, "I'm afraid he still lives in mine." Now, once again, she found herself seated in room 2, the air colder than she remembered, her skin prickling with nerves. Her eyes locked onto the anatomy poster on the wall, something about the digestive system, though her brain refused to absorb a single word. The door opened, and she did not look up. "Good afternoon," came his voice, low, even, clipped in that professional cadence that doctors use when they are keeping their emotions tightly in check. Mariana swallowed hard, nodding at once but still not meeting his eyes. William moved with quiet efficiency, asking about her pain, the frequency of the symptoms, her diet, any new stressors. His tone was calm, rehearsed, but there was something about the way he avoided her gaze too, the way his hands hesitated ever so slightly before each step of the exam that made her chest tighten. He checked her vitals, placed the stethoscope gently against her back, asked her to breathe deeply. She did, inhale, exhale, but with every breath, her mind drifted backward to the quiet courtyard behind the university library, where the old lamppost cast a soft circle of light. William had waited for her there, nervously shifting his weight from foot to foot, wearing the coat she always liked, the charcoal one with the worn sleeves and faint smell of cedar. "I like you, Mariana," he had said, his voice low, sincere, hopeful. "Me has gustado por un tiempo." She remembered the way her heart clenched, how badly she had wanted to say it back, but all she could manage was a shake of her head. "No puedo." He had not begged, he had not questioned. He had only stepped back, eyes shadowed with something unspoken, and nodded. Then he turned and walked away. She had cried the whole way home. He had buried himself in ambition, in everything that did not feel like loss. Now here they were again, in a room of white walls and soft beeps, both pretending that their hearts had not once leaned toward each other like moths to a flame. When the exam was done, William stepped back, snapping off his gloves with a practiced flick. "Voy a enviar tus resultados de la prueba al laboratorio," he said, his voice distant. "Deberías recibir noticias en unos días." "Thank you," she murmured, almost inaudibly. She stood quickly, grabbing her bag. She was halfway to the door when his voice cut through the silence. "I'm still not good enough, am I, Mariana?" Her breath caught. She froze, slowly turning around. William stood there, arms crossed, eyes not angry but full of something far more painful, betrayal, confusion, longing that never quite faded. "You didn't even let me ask why," he said. "You just walked away." Her lips parted, then closed again. "I had my reasons." "I'm sure you had them." Her chin trembled slightly. He stepped forward, his voice softening. "I wasn't trying to be perfect. I just wanted to be there." She blinked rapidly, tears threatening to spill. That was the problem. They stood there, two people holding the remnants of a past too fragile to name. The silence between them felt like glass, beautiful, dangerous, and too easy to shatter. Then she turned, opened the door, and walked out. William remained where he was, unmoving, watching the space she had left behind. Outside, Mariana didn't stop until she was halfway down the street. Then, with trembling fingers, she wiped a tear before it could fall, quickening her pace as the city swallowed her whole. Rain fell in steady sheets against the clinic windows as Mariana stepped inside, her coat soaked and hair clinging damply to her face. She was 20 minutes late for her follow-up, her heart pounding from the sprint and the awkwardness of being late to see the one man she had tried to avoid. The receptionist greeted her with a gentle smile. "Dr. Moore is ready. He said to send you when you arrive." Mariana nodded, breathless, and made her way down the now familiar corridor to room 2. She hesitated at the door, steeling herself. When she entered, William looked up from his notes. "You're late," he said evenly, but not unkindly. "Sorry, the subway stopped and then I forgot my umbrella." Without a word, he crossed the room, opened a drawer, and pulled out a clean towel. He handed it to her without fanfare. She blinked. "Thank you." He gestured toward the chair. "Sit down. I made some tea, too. I thought the weather might slow you down." On the counter behind him sat a ceramic mug, steam curling from its rim. Mariana sat slowly, the warmth of the towel surprising her as much as the softness in William's voice. The exam was routine. Her vitals were better, the symptoms had subsided, but the air between them had changed, less tense, more familiar. Over the next few weeks, Mariana returned twice more. Each time William remained professional, but the edges of their conversation blurred into something more human. He shared a funny moment with a pediatric patient, mentioned the cafe near his building that served terrible coffee but great music. She responded cautiously at first, then with growing ease. William never pushed, but Mariana could feel him trying to bridge something unspoken. And in a way that surprised her, she began to meet him halfway. One morning over coffee at her bookstore job, Mariana's best friend, Sophia, leaned across the counter and raised an eyebrow. "So have you been seeing Dr. William Moore again?" Mariana rolled her eyes. "Medically, yes. Medically, that man could be on the cover of any magazine in this town, and he was totally into you in college." "And I turned him down," Mariana said quietly. "Yes, you turned down a man who literally made pre-med girls cry when he walked by. What quote? Your excuse now." Mariana hesitated. "He's not the same. People change." "Maybe you changed too," Sophia said. The thought lingered in Mariana's mind as she walked into her next appointment. William greeted her with a nod, his stethoscope already around his neck as he checked her heartbeat. There was a brief silence then. "Still anxious?" he asked. "A little," she admitted. "Breathe slowly." "I'm going to tell you." His voice was calm, grounded. She closed her eyes and concentrated on the sound of it. When she opened them again, he was watching her, not clinically, but silently, scrutinizing. "Mariana," he said after a pause, taking a step back, "can I ask you something?" She tensed. "You can try." He set his chart down. "Back then, did you ever like me, even a little bit?" Her breath caught. Of all the things he could have asked, she had not expected that. She looked away. Because I've spent years wondering, and because maybe if I knew the answer, it would hurt less. She stood up, smoothing the hem of her sweater, eyes still on the floor. Her voice, when it came, was small but certain. Yes, I liked you. He blinked. You liked me? She turned toward the door, hand on the handle. I liked you so much it scared me. He stared after her, stunned. She did not wait for a reply. She simply left the room, leaving behind the scent of rain and something tender blooming in the silence. The rain had cleared, but a gray stillness lingered over the city as Mariana sat curled on the worn sofa in her apartment. A steaming mug of tea rested in her hands, untouched. Across from her, Sophia watched her quietly, her fingers wrapped around a chipped ceramic mug of her own. You've been quiet all night, Sophia said gently. More than usual, I mean. Mariana gave a half-hearted smile. I've just been thinking about him, Sophia asked, though they both knew the answer. You told him you liked him, Mariana said softly, and then I ran away. Sophia blinked. Wait, you what? I said it, then I left before he could say anything. Classic Mariana movie. Sophia leaned forward. Why did you say no back then? I never really asked. Mariana looked down into her tea. Because I didn't think I deserved him. My dad had just left. My mom was getting worse every week, and I had to drop out of the pre-med program to work full-time. I couldn't even afford textbooks. And here he was, brilliant, kind, rich, the whole world in his hands. What could I possibly give someone like William Moore? Love, Sophia said simply. You could have given him that. I was scared, Mariana admitted. Still am. At the clinic, William sat in his office reviewing charts when he came across Mariana's full file. He had only skimmed it before, professional boundaries in mind, but now his eyes lingered on the details. Dropped from Columbia's pre-med program, emergency contact, mother with a history of psychiatric illness, years of employment records in retail and caregiving roles. He closed the folder slowly, guilt and admiration swelling in equal measure. All those years he had thought she walked away without explanation. Now he understood. She had not run because she did not care. She had run because she cared too much. The next afternoon, Mariana arrived for a routine follow-up. Her skin looked pale, her steps slower. William noticed immediately. You look exhausted, he said, concerned. I'm fine, she replied, waving a hand. Just didn't sleep much. He nodded, but his frown lingered. Midway through the exam, her answers started to slur slightly. She blinked a few times, then swayed. Mariana. William stepped forward, but she collapsed before he could catch her. His reflexes kicked in. In one swift motion, he scooped her into his arms and rushed her into the staff break room, laying her gently on the small couch. A nurse appeared, but William waved her off. I've got this. He checked her pulse, her vitals. Her breathing was shallow but steady. Gently, he pressed a cool cloth to her forehead and stayed by her side until she stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. What happened? You fainted, he said softly. From exhaustion, low blood sugar. You've been pushing yourself too hard. She blinked, still dazed. I'm sorry. Don't apologize, he said, brushing a strand of hair from her face. You've been carrying so much. Silence filled the room as she looked up at him, vulnerable in a way she rarely allowed herself to be. I didn't want you to see me like this, she whispered. But I do see you, William replied, his voice trembling slightly. Not the version you try to present, the real you, the one who fights every day, even when no one notices. Tears welled in her eyes. He reached down and took her hand, gently in his. If this is the second chance I never thought I'd get, he said, then let me say what I should have said back then. She held her breath. If you let me this time, William whispered, I won't walk away. I won't leave. Her hand tightened around his, and for the first time, the walls between them began to truly fall. The next time Mariana visited the clinic, it was not just for a follow-up. She walked in with more ease, her shoulders less tense, her steps more grounded. The dark circles beneath her eyes had faded slightly, and there was a subtle glow to her skin, as if she had begun to reclaim pieces of herself. She still looked tired, yes, but the exhaustion no longer felt like it was swallowing her whole. Instead, she looked like someone who had started to breathe again. William noticed immediately. He studied her for a beat longer than necessary when she stepped into the room, and for the first time since their awkward reunion, he smiled without hesitation. After her checkup, he handed her a printed list of recommendations and paused before speaking. "You're doing better," he said, his voice softer than usual. "I'm trying," Mariana replied, tucking a loose strand of hair behind her ear. There was a short silence between them. Neither of them moved to end the moment. Then William cleared his throat, shifting slightly. "Would you want to go for a walk with me?" he asked. "There's a park nearby, just 20 minutes, nothing formal." Mariana blinked, surprised. "You mean now?" He looked almost nervous, his posture unusually tentative. "Unless you have other plans." She looked down at her shoes, her heart thudding, and then back up into his eyes. "No, I'd like that." The walk started in silence, but not the uncomfortable kind. It was the kind of quiet that felt natural, like the pause before a deep breath. The sun hung low in the sky, casting everything in soft amber light. The sidewalk still held the warmth of the day, and the rustling trees whispered secrets above them as the city noise gradually faded into the background. As they reached the riverside park, William pointed to a bench beneath a wide maple tree with branches that hung like arms offering shelter. "Sit with me?" She nodded, and they took their seats side by side. Their conversation began lightly, shared memories of college days, professors who terrified them, and the dreadful campus coffee that somehow still tasted better than anything else. William told her stories from his hospital rotations, some sobering, others so absurd they had both laughing in disbelief. Mariana opened up about her job at the bookstore, how she still devoured medical journals late at night, and how sometimes, just for herself, she quizzed her knowledge as if preparing for exams she might never take. "You never really left medicine," William said with a smile, glancing sideways at her. "Sometimes," she said quietly. "I wonder if it left me." He looked at her for a long moment, the breeze lifting strands of her hair. "I don't think it ever did. It just waited for you to come back." They continued walking after that, letting their words unfold with gentle honesty. Over the next few weeks, these walks became something of a ritual. Sometimes they added coffee, sometimes just the stroll, but every time something between them softened, deepened. The distance that had once felt unbridgeable slowly gave way to something fragile but growing. Mariana found herself smiling more. She caught herself looking forward to his texts. Her chest no longer tightened when she saw his name on her phone. Instead, it fluttered. And William, he never pushed. He waited, listened, offered space when she needed it, and steadiness when she wavered. One evening, as the sky shifted from gold to violet, they sat on the bench again, the park quiet around them. Mariana looked at William, her eyes reflecting the soft light. "Thank you," she said softly. He turned to her, his expression gentle. "For what?" "For seeing me. For not giving up." He reached out and took her hand, his thumb brushing lightly over her knuckles. "I never could." In that moment under the maple tree, with the city lights beginning to twinkle in the distance, Mariana felt a warmth spread through her. It was a feeling of belonging, of being seen, and of finally letting go of the fears that had held her back for so long. They stopped by the water's edge. The park buzzed with life, children laughing, dogs barking, a couple arguing gently over an ice cream flavor. William turned to her, his voice low. "I've missed this." Mariana glanced at him. "What? Talking to you? Laughing with you? Seeing you?" Her smile faltered. You only see the good parts, the strong ones. I see all of it, he replied, and I'm still here. He reached out and gently took her hand. She froze, her heart beating loudly in her ears. Slowly, painfully, she pulled her hand away, her eyes stinging. I can't, she whispered. I can't be someone's weight, someone's responsibility. I don't want to be a burden to you. William didn't flinch. Instead, he stepped closer, gently placing his hands on her shoulders. His voice was quiet but steady. You're not a burden, Mariana. You're not something I have to carry. You're someone I want to walk beside. Her throat tightened. You were the person I hoped for back then, he added, and you're still the one I don't want to lose. She stood still, trembling. Then, finally, as if something long locked inside her had begun to melt, her arms lifted, uncertain at first, then wrapped around him. He held her, and she let herself be held. For the first time in a very long time, Mariana didn't feel like she had to apologize for existing. She felt chosen. The clinic had been quiet that afternoon, the usual bustle of patients and chatter reduced to a low hum. Mariana sat on a bench outside during her break, a book in hand and a paper cup of lukewarm coffee beside her. She had come to see William for a routine follow-up, but as she waited, a woman in a crisp navy blazer approached from across the lot. Dr. Sienna Hale. Mariana recognized her instantly from the staff introductions weeks ago, confident, beautiful, with sharp eyes that always seemed to take in more than she let on. Sienna gave her a polite, almost amused smile. Mariana Silva, right? Mariana stood a little straighter. Yes. I'm one of William's colleagues, Sienna said casually, adjusting the strap of her designer bag. We worked together closely for years. Mariana nodded, unsure what else to say. You know, Sienna continued, her tone light but deliberate, William has always been a little too kind for his own good, generous, compassionate. But he also comes from a very different world, Mariana. I know that. I know, Mariana said quietly. Sienna tilted her head. Do you? Because men like William, they don't stay, not with women who don't fit the picture. There it was, the polite voice hiding a cruel jab. He could be with anyone, Sienna added, almost as an afterthought, and one day he might realize that. Mariana's throat tightened. She forced a small smile, said, Thank you, and turned away before Sienna could see the flicker of doubt in her eyes. That night, Mariana lay awake, replaying the conversation over and over. The truth was, she had always wondered the same thing. William had grown up with wealth, access, expectation. She was the girl who clipped coupons, who washed her mother's clothes by hand during hospital stays, who gave up her dream of becoming a doctor to survive. How could someone like her ever truly belong in his world? She started skipping her appointments, stopped replying to his messages. William noticed the silence right away. After the third missed visit, he called the bookstore directly. She's not in today, Sophia said carefully, and honestly, if you care about her, you might want to go see her. It was raining when William arrived, the city soaked in gray. The bookstore lights glowed faintly through the fogged windows. William stood under the awning, drenched, his breath visible in the chilled air. Then the door opened. Mariana stepped out, umbrella in hand, startled when she saw him standing there. She froze. You're avoiding me, William said, his voice raised slightly above the patter of rain, and I think I deserve to know why. She looked down, then back at him, guilt swimming in her eyes. I just needed time. Did someone say something? He pressed. Because I can guess who. Mariana didn't deny it. William took a step closer, rain dripping from his soaked collar. You think I want someone else? She didn't answer. You think I could have anyone? He said, a little louder now. Then why do I keep choosing the one person who walked away from me? Tears gathered in her eyes, but she didn't blink them away. I don't care what world you think I come from, William continued, because all I see is you. And I've seen you when you're tired, when you're scared, when you're quiet, when you're strong. And I have never wanted anyone else more." She stared at him, her heart aching. "I don't need someone perfect, Mariana. I need someone real," he said, his chest rising and falling. "And the girl who once rejected me, she taught me how to love without pride." The rain fell harder. Mariana stepped toward him, dropped her umbrella, and kissed him, soft, sure, and full of every unspoken word they had buried over the years. When they finally pulled apart, breathless and soaked, Mariana whispered, "I was never afraid you weren't good enough. I was afraid I wasn't." William pressed his forehead to hers. "You are enough," he said. "You always were." And this time, she believed him. Weeks passed, but the change between William and Mariana felt like more than time. It was a transformation. No more hidden glances, no more missed words. Now they walked together openly, not as doctor and patient or college memories, but as something real, something chosen. Mariana had re-enrolled in her pre-med preparatory courses at night. She studied with textbooks spread across the small coffee table in William's apartment while he read medical journals beside her, offering the occasional pointer or quiz question that always ended with a kiss on the cheek. "I forgot how good you are at this," William said one evening, watching Mariana scribble in her notebook. She looked up and smiled. "I forgot how much I loved it until you reminded me." Outside of work and study, they spent their weekends volunteering with a free community clinic in the Bronx, offering basic checkups and consultations to families who couldn't afford them. Mariana took vitals and greeted patients, while William handled cases that required more attention. Always, they worked side by side. One Saturday, while cleaning up after a long shift, William looked over at Mariana. Her cheeks were flushed with warmth and satisfaction. "You shine here," he said quietly. "So do you," she whispered back. But not everything was easy. When William told his mother he was bringing someone home, there had been hesitation. Margot Moore was elegance personified, sharp, well-read, and always dressed in muted designer tones. She opened the door with a smile, but Mariana could feel the measuring gaze in her eyes. Dinner was polite, stiff, the conversation formal. Afterward, as William stepped away to take a call, Mariana found herself alone with Margot in the conservatory. "I've heard about you," Margot said, her voice pleasant but cool. "William speaks of you often." Mariana met her gaze. "I imagine that surprises you." Margot didn't answer. Mariana took a quiet breath. "I'm not from his world, I know that. But William doesn't want someone perfect. He wants someone honest, someone who sees him beyond the name. That's what I offer him, not a title, a truth." Margot studied her for a moment, then unexpectedly gave a small, graceful nod. "I suppose we all want our sons to be seen, especially by someone brave enough to see herself." The next day, William took Mariana to the small garden behind his clinic. It was dusk, the air warm and golden. "This was the first place I realized I might lose you again," he said softly, "and I promised myself I wouldn't." Mariana looked around, remembering the moment she had collapsed here, overwhelmed and exhausted. "How far we've come." William turned to her. "Back then you told me no," he said, reaching into his coat pocket, "and I respected it." He lowered to one knee. "But this time, I hope you'll say yes." Mariana gasped as he opened the box, revealing a delicate ring, simple, timeless, like everything they were together. "I don't need perfect," William said, his voice full of quiet emotion. "I just need you." Tears spilled down her cheeks as she nodded, laughing through them. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, William." He slid the ring onto her finger and stood, pulling her into his arms. In the fading light of the garden, where pain had once bloomed, love finally took root. The waiting room of Moore's Community Health Clinic hummed with quiet chatter, the soft rustle of paperwork, and laughter echoing from the hallway. Children played with donated toys in the corner, while parents waited patiently for their turn. Flyers about nutrition, mental health, and prenatal care lined the walls, each detail a reflection of something bigger than medicine, a reflection of purpose. Mariana moved briskly from one room to another, clipboard in hand, stethoscope looped around her neck. She was no longer just William's patient, no longer a shadow in the corners of her own life. She was now his partner, in work, in love, and in a vision they had built together. After passing her exams, she had joined the clinic full-time as a medical assistant while continuing her studies. Together, she and William launched a free outreach program offering medical services to underserved communities across the city. What had started as a small idea had blossomed into a mission because they both knew what it meant to be unseen, to fight silently. "Room 3 is ready," she called over her shoulder. As William emerged from an exam room, he gave her a quick grin as they passed each other, his fingers brushing lightly against hers, a fleeting touch that still made her smile. In the pediatric wing, a tiny voice piped up, "Are you two married?" Both turned in surprise to see a wide-eyed little girl sitting on the exam table, her legs swinging. "Not yet," Mariana said with a laugh. "But you love each other, right?" the girl pressed. William crouched beside her. "Very much." The girl beamed. "You're like the people in cartoons who fall in love at the end." Mariana and William exchanged a look and laughed. "Something like that," Mariana said. Later that night, as they closed the clinic and walked hand in hand through the quiet halls, Mariana paused outside one of the rooms. "William," she said, her voice softer than usual. He turned immediately, attentive. "What is it?" She reached into her coat pocket and handed him a folded piece of paper. His brow furrowed as he opened it. It was a small printout, black and white, grainy. He looked up slowly, Mariana's eyes shimmering, her smile trembling. "I wanted to tell you in the place where everything started," she said. For a long moment, William was silent, his eyes locked on hers. Then he stepped forward and pulled her into his arms, holding her so tightly that the air between them vanished. "You're going to be the most incredible mother," he whispered. "And you," she said against his chest, "the kind of father you never thought you'd be, but already are." They stood that way for a long time, the clinic empty around them, the echo of new beginnings filling the space like sunlight. In the months that followed, their life together continued to grow. Early morning rounds, late-night study sessions, grocery trips that turned into long walks, laughter that filled every corner of their small apartment. William started writing articles about accessible health care, and Mariana gave talks at community colleges about resilience and second chances. And when their baby arrived, a daughter with William's eyes and Mariana's steady quiet, they knew that this love, born from broken pieces and rediscovered strength, would anchor a new generation. Thank you for reading A Nervous Girl Enters the Clinic, Finding the Millionaire Doctor She Once Rejected. If you enjoyed this heartwarming journey of love, redemption, and second chances, please show your support. Like this story if it touched your heart. Share it with friends and family who love a good romance. Subscribe to stay updated with more captivating stories like this one. Your support means the world to us. Stay tuned for more emotional and engaging tales.